Isn't the point of traveling to get away from it all? To feel the best you've ever felt? Then maybe you should check out Aruba. You'll spend your time relaxing on cool, white, sandy beaches and floating in healing blue water. You'll meet locals brimming with gratitude for an island that redefines what a paradise can be. When your trip comes to an end, you won't need another vacation because you just had the vacation. That's the Aruba effect. Plan your trip at Aruba.com.
Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. All right, real quick before we get started on the show, I'm just going to talk about Treeline Academy. You've heard me say it. I can't even tell you how many times. Mark Livesey is treelineacademy.net. That's treelineacademy.net. Sign up. Use the promo code PC2020. Save yourself $20. Can't say it enough. It's awesome. Amazing. Most comprehensive e-scouting course out there. Check it out for yourself. Sign up. Use promo code PC2020. And now let's get to the show. Okay, so I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Dennis Stokes. So Dennis, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit for us?
All right. Well, first of all, Lucas, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad to be here and glad to be joining you tonight. I am Dennis Stokes, and I'm one of the owners of Initial Ascent, a backpack company out of Idaho. And I grew up in Florida and went to college in Alabama, played 4 years of college football there, went to grad school at Auburn, and then moved in 2000 out here to Idaho. And I grew up living on a dirt road in Florida and hunting, fishing, trapping, just burning up and down the two trails and the dirt roads on my four-wheeler. That's what we called them back then. It wasn't a quad. It was back when I think it was like a Honda 125 or something. And it was when they finally decided they were going to kind of go away from three-wheelers. So anyway, grew up kind of blazing around on that. I am married, have 3 kids. And so I've been married for 21 years now and have 2 18-year-olds and a 14-year-old. So we've been busy for a few years.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that, just at a different stage than you, but you're definitely familiar with all that. So
yep.
God bless you. And I know what you went through. So
yep.
No, I wouldn't trade it for nothing though. But I still have I got a 250, so I'm familiar. I still call it a 4-wheeler, and it's a Yamaha Bear Tracker. So
nice. Oh
yeah.
Man, hang on to that. That's worth some money.
I'm still rolling with that. I don't need any of those big fancy ones. So
outstanding.
But so let's talk. You ended up moving to Idaho,
mm-hmm.
and for work, obviously.
Yes.
And is that where you ended up celebrating the honeymoon? Is on the road or in Idaho?
Yeah. So yeah, we left 2 days after, and you know how it is. I mean, I was a 24-year-old kid, and I was just ready to get on with my life. I'd just been broke all my life, and I was ready to start my career. I'd finished graduate school. I was ready to start my career, but I was so ready that I didn't think about implications of not really having a honeymoon. And my wife, bless her heart, she was really good about just following me wherever I went, and making sure that we were going to make our dreams come true and be successful with whatever we did. So she agreed to leave right after the wedding, basically, and do our honeymoon on the road. It's 2,500 miles to Idaho from Auburn, Alabama, and we were in separate vehicles the whole way. And we would drive for 12, 14 hours a day, and it was pretty miserable. Didn't even take time to see sights. We were just trying to get to Idaho and get on with our lives, right?
So did you guys have a house picked out, or what was the game plan there?
Oh no, we pulled into town. We didn't know where we were. I called the only guy that I knew, and he was the guy that interviewed me for my job. And I called him and I said, "Hey, we're going to need somewhere to stay. Can you point us in the direction of some apartments?" And so we found an apartment and managed to get our stuff moved in there. And actually, it's kind of a funny story, a welcome to Idaho story. We found these apartments. We got there on a Friday and started moving in on a Saturday, and finished moving in, or attempted to finish moving in, on Sunday. And some guys that I was going to be working with, they came over to help move everything in. So we had almost everything in that apartment, which wasn't much. I mean, we were 25 years old. And one of the guys was trying to get a couch on end around this corner in this really tight hallway right there at the door. And he hit a fire sprinkler that was hanging down, that wasn't protected. Usually they have like a wedge or something on them, so if you do hit them, they won't bust. Well, this thing broke off, and we're talking 50 gallons a minute type thing, just streaming down. And we're grabbing garbage cans and getting water, dumping it in the tub, dumping it outside. Oh my gosh, my wife, she was just distraught, to say the least. And I think it finally hit her when, we were getting flooded out, and the thing was, we couldn't turn the water off. It probably took an hour to turn the water off, because I think the managers, they were an hour away or something like that, and they were the only ones with the keys to turn these fire sprinklers off. So anyway, long story short, it was a welcome to Idaho type of an affair, and my wife didn't know if we had made the right decision or not, and I was starting to question that myself.
For sure.
Yeah.
But so you're in Idaho now. You're settled in, and then obviously you said, "Man, I hunted my whole life. I'm going to start hunting," right? And you ended up starting to hunt in Idaho. And how long was it before you started pursuing elk?
The first fall, I actually attempted to pursue elk. I got had some friends that I had met, and they apparently knew what it was all about. And me, coming from Florida and Alabama and just hunting hogs, whitetail, doing things that way, this was a whole new world. Mountains.
Yes.
that was a big aha. And just learning about elk, I had no idea. And so I kind of got introduced to it, at least to the experience, the taking the week off and going, setting up elk camp and hunting. It was this guy that was kind of heading it all up. He had 2 wall tents. One was a cook tent, one was the sleeping tent, and I had never been in a wall tent, never even seen one. And we ate like kings that week. It was the most fantastic thing ever. But I think, and we did some elk hunting too. We had horses, and so that was kind of fun for me. But all I can remember about that trip is that we didn't run into many elk, but there was a lot of beer consumed. So my first experience with elk hunting was it was a little bit different than most, I think. But that's what those guys did. I mean, whether they killed an elk or not, it was the experience. It was getting away from work, probably getting away from their families, just for that week. That was their week. And so I learned a kind of a valuable lesson that week. And for me, coming from Florida, I mean, we had deer everywhere. I mean, you didn't have to try that hard to kill a deer. And as a matter of fact, growing up, and I don't know how it is where you live in Illinois, but our whitetail, they're about the size of big dogs.
Yeah.
And,
ours are a lot bigger than that, but
yeah, Midwest deer, I think I've seen pictures for sure. But yeah, it was there were numerous deer. So you had, when I was growing up, the way the regs read in my area, we could kill a buck a day. And then there was a weekend in December, somewhere around the 10th, where we had doe weekend. And so on that Saturday and Sunday, you could kill a buck a day, but you could also kill 2 does along with those bucks.
wow.
Needless to say, around our neck of the woods, bucks didn't grow to be very old.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's
So,
a buck a day.
yeah. They were just everywhere. But this experience with elk hunting, it was so different, and I really enjoyed it and started wanting to learn more and more about it. And so, but I can't. And a lot of guys that come from the South or come from the Midwest to come out west to hunt for the first time, man, what a learning curve. It's so steep. And that's what I went through, 20 years ago. And so I hunted there for a couple of years, and then my wife got pregnant with her twins, and pretty much I laid it down until until they were 8, 9 years old.
Don't tell my wife
when I got back into hunting. Well, I was trying to start a career and kind of get that going really good and build the career, and then obviously help my wife out and try to spend as much time as I could with the kids. So I didn't have time for it at all, and finally got back into it when the kids were a little bit older.
So when you picked back up, I mean, things ended up progressing and becoming a little bit different. At what point did you actually start with the whole backpack style hunting?
That was probably about 8 years ago, I would say. Yeah, I would say around 2000. It's probably 2011, 2012 is when I started with that. And I had never been a backpacker. Growing up, the only backpack I owned was one from Walmart that I put my too many books from school in.
Like a Jan Sport or something,
Jan Sport. Yeah. Oh yeah, you know it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the only thing. But I'd always wanted a backpack, because the thing about me, I was a gear guy. Now, I couldn't afford any gear when I was growing up, but any type of thing that said kit, or like their survival knife.
Oh yeah.
You remember the one that after Rambo came out?
Oh yes.
The survival knife that had all the stuff in the handle.
Oh yeah.
Man, I saved my money and bought one of those.
I bought the cheap Chinese or Taiwanese knockoff one. I couldn't afford the Bud K knife, or I can't even remember who the guy is that designed that knife, but I couldn't afford the real one. Mine was the Taiwan knockoff with the compass that had just enough water to barely make the thing float, and you could flick it and it would.
Yes. You always had to tap it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am familiar.
Yep. But that's how it was, man. I was a gearhead from an early age, man. My first aid kit, it seemed like every week I was taking that thing apart, reorganizing it, saying, hey, I might need this or I might need that. And that was when I was 6, 7 years old. I was doing that.
That's like
So,
my favorite book was, I think it's FM 2176, Field Manual, Army Survival. My dad gave it to me when I was about 6 or maybe 7 years old. I don't know. And I went through that book cover to cover so many times I could almost recite stuff to you.
oh man, that's a good dad.
Yeah. Hopefully I can pass it down to my kid and he's interested in it, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's kind of where it started with me. So when I found out about backpacking and actually started looking into that, especially since we were, now living in the mountains, and I did a little bit when we first got out here, but not a ton because it cost a lot of money, or at least, that's what I thought. It cost a lot of money to get all the gear, to get set up. So, got into backpacking, but it fit my personality and my kit, craving, my gear craving. It fit perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. So once you did that and you kind of got into it and stuff, because I want to try and figure out, you had some backpacks and stuff, and I mean, was there a reason why you decided to create your own, backpack? I mean,
yeah, bunches of reasons actually. As I kind of went along in my progression with backpack hunting, I got really, really picky, and I think that's the gearhead in me. I was just always wanting to try something different, and I got really picky. And I'm 5'7", but I've got a 19-inch torso, and I couldn't find a pack that just had everything that I wanted. And so one day, my future partner and I, Joe, we actually met each other at our kids' football practice, and we got to talking about hunting, and I had been hunting for a few years, basically by myself and with a couple other guys, and but we got to talking about our love for hunting and backpack hunting especially, and he had done a lot of backpacking as well, and so it kind of morphed into, we started hunting together, and it ended up, we had the same pet peeves about packs. And so he had things that he would like to change, and I had things that I would like to change. And we started going to the Western Hunt Expo together, and taking our families and everything. And it just became evident to us that, hey, we've got some good ideas, and we feel like we know how we can make a pack that's just right for everything that we want. And so that's looking at the Hunt Expo and just seeing all the pack manufacturers and everything, and all the people that were interested in packs and trying on packs and everything. We looked at each other and we said, you know what, we can do this. We should create a pack ourselves. And so we, and years before that, I'd already been modifying my packs, that I had owned, and I've owned about every one of them. So it was something I was just trying to do tailor made for me. And he was the same way.
Every piece of gear I get, I go over it and I make it stealthy. However that is, trying to silence things, do all that kind of stuff. And then we'll get into like what I did to your pack in a little bit here, but
oh, good. I can't wait to hear.
But first, so, I mean, you and I were talking a little bit before the podcast, and I mean, your background is not like an engineering background, as far as I could tell. It's more of like, I'm guessing agriculture / animal biology or something like that.
Yeah. So, consulting. I'm actually a nutritionist.
So, kind of a little bit different, not exactly in your wheelhouse other than the gear side of things. So where did you start for, the design, the inception of the pack, number one, and then like the frame, because I mean your frame's kind of different than everybody else's frame, and it's neat and it's really cool, and I like it. I like using it. But I mean, how did that come about then? Is your partner kind of the engineer of the group, or what? How did that?
No, actually, we actually, but and to start off with, we said we have to decide on a frame. That's the foundation. And so we have to decide on what we're going to use for a frame. So we talked about all kinds of things, and we started making designs of this frame, with coat hangers and pieces of string laid out on cardboard, just different shapes and everything. And I kind of knew what I was after, but since my mind doesn't quite work like an engineer, I couldn't take it as far as I needed to go in the design to actually realize that concept that I was looking for. So what we did was we actually went to Boise State, and they have a program there in their engineering program, and it's Boise Tech Help. And so we went and talked to those guys, and they are engineers, and they have students that work in there as well. And they were also working with another company, another engineering company that helped us out. And so that original design kind of came from just what Joe and I had talked about. I had actually drawn it up on an iPad, but I didn't know exactly what the material was going to be. I didn't know exactly what the shape was going to be. I had the general design, but so we enlisted their help, and they kind of got that shape. We talked about carbon fiber, and then that somehow we got a hold of another guy that could actually manufacture the frame that and we had mocked it up with basically wood, and then put some carbon fiber on top of it just to get the shape, just to see, if we thought that could work and support a load and that sort of thing. The original frame was actually flat, so it was the shape, as you look at it, from the front or the back, was really close to what we have now, but it was flat. It had no curve to it at all. And so it didn't take long we put that in a makeshift hip belt and put some shoulder straps on that, and put some weight on there, and all of a sudden the load lifter ears are hitting us in the back of the head, and it was not good. So we knew we had to go back to the drawing board there. But anyway, we got involved with an engineer over in eastern Idaho in Rexburg, and he owns a company called Cidius Composites, and he basically worked with us the rest of the way. Now, granted, it took about 3 years of design, research, testing, and all of that to get the frame where it needed to be to even release. So there was a considerable amount of time that was spent in the lab, in the engineering department at Boise State, over at Cidius Composites. A lot of time went into that, and the secret that we figured out is a secret, but it's one of those deals where you're trying to make a cake without a recipe. You're trying to figure out, because you know what you want the end product to be, but it was making that recipe, where you're talking time, temperature, pressure, resin, layers of carbon fiber, layers of fiberglass, layers of composite material, all of this stuff, we had to figure it out, and it was just trial and error. I mean, right now we're on version 17 of our frame. Now, all of them weren't major changes or anything. There were a lot of tweaks in those versions, but yes, version 17.
So how many versions do you think are out there right now still being used for like the original versions?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I think we released it at version 14.
Okay.
So there, and the versions 15, 16, 17 are very, very minor things. So version 14s, we still, I mean, they're great frames, and we're not getting any of them back, so that's good.
So I bought mine last year. So what version do you think that is? Version 17 then?
That would be 16, actually.
16.
So 17, yes, 16. So
Okay.
17 actually has it's just a slight tweak of a couple slots. That's all.
Oh man,
It's just,
I'm gonna have to sell mine and get the version 17 now because that gear junkie's coming out in me, you know. So
there you go. There you go. Yeah.
But so, I mean, did they like try and render 3D models for you, like on a printer or anything like that, before you guys ever went to the actual process of trying to make the carbon frame, or how was that, like a prototype? Did you have that was like a 3D rendered model or something?
Yeah, we didn't have a 3D rendered model, but we did have some prototypes that were made out of really thin plywood. And so, funny story, the first time we took these frames, so they were prototype frames, the first time we took to try them out was in New Zealand. We took them over there to try them out. And, Joe and I both decided, hey, we're gonna go see if, this thing's going to work or not. And it ended up working out really well. We got lucky. If I had to do it all over again, though, Lucas, I would probably take a backpack that, at least a backup pack.
I mean,
I would do that. I mean, that's a trip of a lifetime, right? I'm probably never going to do it again. And
as of right now, you can't. As of right now, you can't even do it. So,
isn't that something?
And now they're even talking about just trying to eliminate them. They're going to try and take all the tar and shoot them and cull them. So who knows? Because they want it back to native species, which is about nothing. So
yeah,
we'll see where that goes.
Everything was everything was brought in there.
So that's an interesting story within itself. That would probably be an entire podcast. So I don't think I'll dive down that rabbit hole too deep. But
okay.
So you tried out the pack, and obviously with the prototype pack, you're probably learning a lot of flaws and different things that you're trying to perfect. Is there anything that you could think of off the top of your head that you were like, oh man, this has to change?
Yeah. So the load lifters were one thing. We had to go higher on the load lifters for sure. And that was the biggest thing, I think, to me. But overall, we had the shape pretty much the way we wanted it. And then we ended up adding a bunch of layers in different directions. And by that time we didn't have the resin that we're using now. So, and that's been a game changer for us. So the major thing, I think, for me and testing it over there was probably the load lifter, and it needed to be higher.
So you say the resin is a game changer. Is it because of like strength or something that it's changed the game, or what has it done? Made it lighter?
No, it's just it has different properties than typical resins that are used with carbon fiber. And it got brought to us by our engineer about 2 months before I think it was 2 months before we were going to release, because our other resin, we had some problems with it, and it was not performing like we wanted. And here we are, we're signed up for the Hunt Expo, and the soft goods are made. We're ready to go to the show, but we've got a problem with the frame. And so he actually went to a conference, I believe down in Orlando, and ran into this new product and grabbed a sample of it while he was there, took it back. He thought it might be something that we're looking for, and he did a bunch of tests with it and everything. And man, it was fantastic. It changed the game for us as a company, because if he hadn't found that, we probably wouldn't have released there in February, and who knows where we'd be now.
So I'm guessing you can't talk too much because it might be kind of not necessarily proprietary, but kind of confidential as far as the product you're using. However, can you talk about some of the problems that you had with the initial frame?
Yeah, breakage. We broke some frames, and not saying that was all the resin, but it was interesting. He did a test with resin, and I think what he said he did was he made some hockey pucks out of different resins just to test, and there were two of them that he threw on concrete and shattered in like 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, you don't want that
probably more
for equipment, I'm guessing.
Right. And then there was one of them that bounced about 40 feet in the air.
Okay.
And so we're like, okay, if you can get something that is not brittle and it can be a little bit pliable, that serves you pretty well out in the field.
So let's kind of get into, I want to talk about, and this is something you haven't mentioned yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'll brag a little bit, but I have been seeking out and looking for companies that are American made. It just kind of bothers me that I've been, you get gear and you pay let's just face it, a lot of money for a lot of your gear, and you look at a label and it's made in China. And I want to support businesses that are here, that are in the United States, that are making high quality goods and actually paying a sustainable wage to people to make their products. And that's kind of why I chose your product. And I mean, to me, that's important. And so let's kind of talk about that with you as far as why that's important to you and how your products are made here.
Yeah, we're very proud of that, and not only is it made in America, but it's also made strictly in Idaho, which is cool. Being a resident here. So, yeah, I don't know. We struggle. We still struggle with it. We are proud, obviously proud to be Americans, and proud of the country we're blessed to live in. And we just felt like that even though it was going to cost us a tremendous amount of money, and it may take, getting bigger and bigger and bigger to be able to make that American made thing work, from a profitability standpoint. Because obviously if you go overseas, cheap labor, there's a lot of things that go along with that. But we made the decision early on that we were gonna stay here. We had opportunities to go overseas and didn't do that. And I think it's just something that we are very proud of, and that, good Lord willing, we're going to continue doing that and supporting and hopefully, because right now, I mean, it's just me and my partner. I mean, we are running the company. We're mopping the floors. We're doing everything from A to Z.
Well, you're not running machines, are you?
Well, we're not sewing. We're
Okay.
not sewing anything. You don't want us to sew, I promise. Um, but we are, once the soft goods are sewn right here in Garden City, Idaho, we we get them and I'm putting them together. I ship out of my location, and we're an owner touches every single pack that goes out. We put them all together,
So
and so that's another cool thing. We don't want to have them constructed overseas where we can't be involved.
yeah, no, I that's one of the things I actually, I don't know if you remember or not. I reached out to you when I was first looking at your packs and kind of had some questions, and you were more than happy to answer your phone and talk to me about it and answer
Yeah,
all the questions I had. And not only that, but you told me how to measure my measurements that I needed for my pack. And then you said, just send those along in the notes and I'll set it up for you. So you don't even have to adjust the height or do any of that yourself. And it came and I put it on, and right away, it was the first pack that I've ever had that actually fit me without having to do anything like that, which was pretty cool. I've experienced a couple different packs, and I got to say, some of them, the quality was higher than others. And then also just certain things, aspects of them. There was one I had that I was constantly, the adjusters would never stay tensioned properly. So I was constantly stopping and just tugging and reefing on straps and pulling on them all the time. And it got to the point where it was so annoying. I just wanted to take it and throw it on the ground. But when you're 6 miles deep and trying to hike out, it doesn't exactly make it possible. So,
right.
that was the turning point. I was like, okay, when I get home, I'm getting a new pack. This is it. I'm done. And that's when a couple weeks later, I gave you a phone call, and
Awesome.
it's pretty cool. So I'll talk a little bit about what I did to the pack. So
Yes,
I
please.
started out with the 2K. Um, I was actually going to thought about doing the whole Brotherhood of the Traveling Pack, which we could talk about a little bit if you want to just explain that, what it
Sure.
is and what it's about, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to tell folks what
Oh,
that is
yeah.
real quick?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to nudge me a little bit harder. But so the Brotherhood of the Traveling Pack, that was a brainchild of one of our athletes, Steve Opat, who lives in Alaska. He comes up with the greatest ideas sometimes, and he came up with this, and he actually has a podcast, Alaskan Odysseys, and we talk about it on there. He kind of likened it to the movie The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. And if you remember that movie, now I didn't. I remembered the movie, but I'd never seen it.
Neither had I.
But Steve said he had to watch it with his sister at some point, and so since he brought this idea up, I had to go watch it myself. And the whole gist of it was there was this pair of pants, and you had different sizes and shapes and heights of gals in this sisterhood. They were all friends, and they had this one pair of pants, and it fit every single one of them, and they would have some amazing experiences apparently. And so I turned it off about halfway through. um, but anyway, that was the whole gist behind the pack. And so Steve started the pack in Alaska on a caribou hunt with some friends of his, and let one of them borrow the pack, and magic happened. I mean, they killed a nice bull, they packed a bull out, and so basically what it's going to do is it's in the middle of its journey right now. It's going each month. It goes to a different hunter on a different hunt in a different state, and this one pack gains. I guess it gains traction. It gains juju, if you want to call it, on the way, because everybody is filling out. You have certain things you have to do, but everybody's filling out a journal when they have it about their experience, what they hunted, how the hunt went, that sort of thing. They write on the inside of the pack their name, the state in which they hunted, the species they hunted, and if they harvested or not. They also send along some type of useful item to the next person, and they write that person a personal letter um, about the pack and about the item that they're sending. So really cool stuff. By the time we get it back to Alaska in August, it's going to have so many stories. And that's what hunting's a lot of hunting's about. It's about the stories. It's about the brotherhood. And so we're real proud of this project. And right now, it just finished up in Arizona, I believe. And then I'm actually going to talk to the gentleman tomorrow, and he's going to be sending it on to the next guy. So yeah, we've got several months that are still open. So if any of your listeners are interested in the Brotherhood of the Traveling Pack, they can go on our website. I have a blog on there, and maybe I'll shoot you that link, so maybe you can leave it in the notes or something.
Sure.
But it's a really cool project, and we're really happy with how it's going.
So what are you guys going to do with like the film footage? Are you going to turn it into like a short film or something, or what's your plans with that?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we don't require them to take any film or video of it. So if guys have it, they're sending it to us. So we might be able to do something cool with that. But they're taking lots of pictures. So we're posting some of those pictures, and they're posting pictures as well. So yeah, that's kind of the footage that we're getting. But we're going to do. We'll do it again probably this August and send a brand new pack out there. We may even do the sisterhood of the traveling pack.
There you go. Because
that's in the work as well. That's in the works as well.
So let's touch on that real quick before we get into my use and modifications. You guys just released a women's pack.
Yeah,
right?
and specifically the frame, because that's one thing that we noticed in all of the folks that we fitted personally with our pack. The ladies, they tend to have shorter torsos than men. Even if a gal is 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", they could have a shorter torso to where our Integris frame is what we call our original frame. It doesn't fit right, and the shape was designed for a male torso. So with the Invictus, we changed the shape to where it was ideal for a woman's torso. We shortened it up and made it a little bit thinner. So we changed the width a little bit. And it's really, really gotten popular out there with these gals that finally they have, something that fits them and fits that shorter torso. And so we're doing that now. Our shoulder straps are actually our original shoulder straps. The way they're shaped, they're working out really well. I doubted that at the beginning, just because if it fits a man, women are built different, and if it fits a man, is it going to fit a lady? And we've really had good luck with that. So we had, 7 or 8 different ladies that had it this fall in the field testing at one time, and then dozens of women it went on their backs to test through the end of the summer through the fall, right before we released it. So and this whole concept and design has probably been a couple years in the making. But yeah, we're really happy about it, and it's changing the game for a lot of the ladies out there.
That's pretty cool. That's definitely cool. So I'll get into my pack now.
Okay.
So I got it. It pretty much already fit. Right away, I started squaring away my gear and trying to figure out where everything was going and everything. I purchased the 2K. My plan is to get the 6K
Okay.
later, to actually go out west. But I figured for whitetail hunting, I wanted something that I could be able to strap stands to, or if I wasn't using a stand and I was saddle hunting, which actually I've found has become my preferred method. But
Okay.
like mid to late winter, you get all these cold snaps in the snow and everything, and I'm always packing layers because sometimes I'm hiking in 2 miles or whatever. So I figured, man, I need all these layers that I got to pack them, and I don't just want to roll them up and strap them to the back of my pack. If it's raining or whatever, I want them inside the pack, which it does have some water resistance to it. I can attest to that for sure.
Yeah.
Nice four-way stretch material. I'm guessing it's probably berry compliant. And so I was like, okay, so I need, whatever. And it ended up working out that pack fits perfect for all of my winter gear, snacks and food for the whole day, everything. So I throw it on my back after I get my sticks, climbing sticks and everything strapped to it. And it had this, the straps flapping around and everything, which I was like, okay, no big deal. So I, taped up everything nice and quiet and just the way I like it. And I noticed a little bit of a scratching noise. And I'm like, oh man, this is not going to work.
Dog
What the
don't
heck
work.
is going on? And I'm like, this is not good. So I remember I messaged you and I said, hey, I got this bad scratching noise coming from the pack straps in the frame, and I guess there's like a magical height for the frame to where that happens. And
That's correct.
you guys are probably, I'm guessing, working on that. And you told me the fix for it. And you're like, if you
Yeah.
want, I'll even send them to you. I'll send you the Velcro. Or the felt. So I ended up just going down in the basement and I had some felt from whatever project or whatever I was working on. And I cut 2.5 by 1.5 squares, stuck it on there. Boom. Stealth mode was activated. It was super quiet. And what's crazy is, like, I've talked to like 5 other guys that have the packs. I even messaged a guy over at Western Contours, and I was like, hey man, do you have a problem with the frame? Before I go complaining or whatever, is there something I'm missing? And he's like, no, never had any, scratching noise on my pack. And so then I messaged, I messaged my buddy Christian Lazarides, and I was like, hey Christian, you got your pack? You just packed that whole deer in your pack, packed it out for, a couple 100 yards or whatever you did. I said, was it loud as heck? I'll get out. And he's like, no, it wasn't that loud at all. I never noticed it. And I'm like, well, something's going on here. And my pack is so noisy. If I don't figure this out, I'm ditching this pack.
Oh,
And
man.
so that's when I just reached out to you guys and you're like, oh no, it's a known thing, but it's a super simple fix.
Yep.
I fixed it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going hunting with it now. So I had it just in time for my hunting season, and that, I will say, that pack was canoed in with me almost every day, and then it was strapped to my back, and I hiked in wherever I had to go. And one day, it was super cold, and I was in a rush to get down in the dark, and I packed my hook in my pocket. Well, when I took my hunting clothes off, I emptied my pocket out at the truck, and I never put it back in my bag because I kept it in the cup holder, or the Nalgene bottle holder on the side, and it was my hook for my pack. And I'm like, dang it. Oh, now what do I do? I got this heavy pack. I can't put it on a plastic hook. So
Right.
I actually just opened up the kidney belt and hooked it right to the tree. So then at that point, I was like, what do I even need to carry this holder for anymore for my pack? I could just open up the straps and just hook it to the tree. So I've been doing that unless it's a really large tree. So that worked out good.
Awesome.
But I'll say it's super durable. I've used it for an entire hunting season, dropped it from the tree a few times, maybe once or twice intentionally, maybe not. I'll never tell, but
Yeah.
but it definitely held up, and it's worked pretty good. The only thing I did is I accidentally ripped off a couple of the Velcro things on the on my webbing
On the webbing.
on the webbing. So I may need to get some new straps, but other than that, it definitely held up, and I'm excited to try and get the 6K bag and start playing with that. I think it's pretty neat the way everything stretches on the material. I like that versus a lot of your other bags are rigid, and when you can't fit anymore, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And like I use the outer pocket on that 2K, and I will stuff a pair of puffy pants and like a down puffy jacket, and it actually both fits in there, which is kind of cool because then it's right on the outside. My rain gear is in the top pocket, so that works out good. And then the inside stuff, you even got integrated pockets on the inside, which I found nice for organization. I like to have my stuff kind of squared away, so that definitely helped. It was pretty cool. Then I started thinking, I kind of need a bow holder for this on my way out, but at the same time, I wanted it protected. So I haven't quite figured out if the bow holder for that bow would be the way to go, or maybe there's something else. Haven't decided that yet, but it's definitely served its purpose this year and done its job. And I like the fact that I can strap all my stuff to that frame. It holds it tight. I ended up buying the pannier and never even ended up needing it or using it. So at some point I'll play with that, and I can give an honest review of that as well. But it's definitely held up, and I've had that thing stuffed to the gills to the point where it couldn't hold anymore. And you're thinking for a 1-day hunt, how much do you need? But sitting in a tree all day with the wind blowing, it's a little bit different than walking around. And
for sure,
it's definitely worked out well.
I'm glad to hear that you're being a whitetail hunter, that you're using that 2K with in a stand and everything. I grew up hunting like that, but I hadn't done it since I left back. But a couple years ago, I started bear hunting a little bit. Started baiting bears, and so I ended up buying another tree stand and using that. And so what I've been doing is taking the 2K bag as well. I was curious how that was working for you.
Yeah, no, it definitely worked out good. I like the fact that if I'm actually carrying a larger stand or even my climber, the problem always was before, if I wanted to bring a pack just to pack additional layers or food or any of that stuff, I had to figure out a way to affix the pack to the stand so I could carry the stand with the carry straps. So my whole thing was I needed to find a bigger pack that actually had a rigid frame to where I could switch it around and do it the other way. And and so I kind of hemmed and hawed and looked at a couple different options, and I was like, I definitely want American made this time, and I wanted the modularity as well. I wanted to be able to switch out from a whitetail pack or even like a day trip pack and be able to just use the same pack for going. I didn't want to have 7 different packs laying around. That's the other thing. My wife, it drives her nuts when I've got all this different gear, and well, you don't only use that like 1 week out of the year. What do you need that for? So
right.
It was one of those things where I wanted some versatility out of it, and it kind of, I feel that it fit the bill to be able to switch out the packs on the frame and still have just the one frame. Or if I didn't even need the pack, I could use the pannier or something like that and just strap a few things in there, or put some type of molly pocket or something on your pannier, and then just end up putting the stand directly to the frame or something like that. But yeah, so I mean, it definitely left options, and I felt that was kind of important in my decision making on what I did. But I got to say, the noise when I first got that pack, Dennis, I looked at it and I held it in my hands and I squeezed it real tight, and I thought to myself, if this is it, I'm going to be so mad. It's going away. I'm selling it. And then I believe it was Guy ended up just just reach out to Dennis. No, he's cool. He'll tell you all whatever. He'll fix it.
Yeah.
He'll make it right. And as soon as I did, you're
Oh,
like, oh yeah, we know it's a little bit of an issue, but it is there like a certain height range or something that tends to happen in or something like that with
yeah.
with the way the straps are adjusted?
Yeah, it seems like the taller torsos or the longer torsos, that's when it starts to happen, because that Velcro on the shoulder strap starts to come up a little further, and we've got some we've got a way to fix that on Gen 3 for sure. So that'll be one of the main things that's addressed. But in the meantime, there's a really really simple fix for it. So.
Yeah,
Um,
it was literally robbing stuff from my basement that I had. That was either my stuff or maybe it was even my kids. I don't know, but I took it and
yeah.
I cut the squares and put it on there, and it quieted it right up. And I mean, it wouldn't matter so much maybe for a Western hunter that might drop his pack when he's gonna try and do a stalk or something. But when I'm trying to slip into like a bedding area and not get busted out, I mean, that extra noise with that continuous scratching doesn't sound like anything that's out there in the wild. And
No.
it definitely was something I was like, nope, got to fix that for sure.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I taped up all the ends of my straps and stuff like that. But I do that on, anything. I always want my gear kind of squared away and quiet. And it did that and made it to where it was the pack, and got some pretty good pictures of it in the canoe with my deer and
I want
all
those,
that good
man.
stuff. So
Yeah.
it was definitely cool. It was a good experience. I should have tagged out on day one, but the hesitant hunter came out in me, and I was like, I don't know if that deer's as big as I think he is. Is that even the
Yeah.
same deer I thought it was coming up? And then, sure enough, when he started walking away and I got the camera on him, that's when I realized. So
Yeah.
I took a different deer, but what are you gonna do? So
Yeah.
but it definitely it had some cool public land adventures in it, and I put it through the paces. There was driving snow and all kinds of good stuff. So I'm
Very cool.
definitely happy with it, and I hope people listening to this, kind of give it a look see and see if they like it too, because it's good that you're able to reach the owner and be able to talk to him and be able to address any issue or anything like that, and the fact that it's made right here, so it makes it a lot easier to probably on your end even to do any changes or anything like that to the pack, because your hands are in every part of the process.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that Joe and I both take a lot of pride in. Is when you get an answer to your DM on Instagram, it's typically me. Unless I'm out of town, Joe takes care of it. Or if you call the customer service line, you're going to get me. If you don't get me, it's because I'm probably wrapped up doing something else, but I get back to you really quick. I love helping people, man. It's that's one of the things with this business. I love working with the people in this industry. They're just, I mean, everybody's so nice. I mean, there's a lot of intense people, obviously, but that's cool too. They're intense. They're passionate about what they love to do, and that's hunt. And so I love talking hunting. I love talking gear, and I love trying to help people be more successful. That's the entire reason that we got into this, was to try to influence people's lives and raise the bar. And we felt like our presence in this industry, just stepping in 2018, would not only raise the bar for hunters that dealt with us, but it would cause our competition to raise their game as well. And that helps everybody else. No matter if you buy a pack from us or not, because of our presence, you're going to get a better pack from whoever you decide to buy it from. I think it goes full circle like that.
So there's also a nice touch that comes along when you open up your box. The first thing you see in that box is probably the last thing you put in there, but a lot of times it's a handwritten note. And
every time it's a handwritten note. Yep.
I believe that that's something that you don't see too much today, is to know that, hey, this is the person that packed my box. This is the person that touched my pack. And in your case, even blessed your pack.
Yeah.
With can you kind of just tell people what that is there on the bottom of the card?
Yeah, I'd have to go grab one to remember exactly what it says. But basically, it's a Bible verse. Joe and I are both. We wear our faith on our sleeves, and we basically give everybody a blessing. It's a prayer that that God will watch after them on their hunt, and that they'll be safe and they'll be blessed. And so that's on the bottom of every note, and I write every single note, and I'll guarantee you this: 20 years from now, I'm still going to be writing those notes, because that's one thing that I absolutely love to do, and I take a lot of pride in just sending that blessing, and just letting people know that I care about them, whether I know them or not. I care about them. Joe cares about them. We care enough to put our hands on every pack. Now we may not be able to always put our hands on every pack, but I guarantee you're going to get a handwritten letter from one of us every single time.
No, I think that's pretty cool, especially in this day and age when so much stuff is drop shipped from different locations and all that kind of stuff. It's neat to see that somebody still cares enough to, one, wear their faith on their sleeve, incorporate God, and to show you that they care by actually handwriting it versus a print off of something. So that's pretty cool.
Sure.
With that being said, Dennis, I'd like to just ask you before we go to kind of tell everybody where they can find your product, where they can find you guys on social media and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for having me, Lucas. I've had a ball here talking with you. You can go on to our website, www.initialascent.com. You can find us on Facebook, Initial Ascent, also Instagram at Initial Ascent, and then our YouTube channel, Initial Ascent Packs. So, find us on all those places.
All righty. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on and sharing with us.
Thanks, man.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.